So, before getting into whatever exactly this video is supposed to be, I guess I should say happy 56 subscriber special, I guess. I know that sounds like me being sarcastic, but to anyone who actually has genuinely enjoyed the content on this channel so far, or just whatever merit you find in it, thank you for sticking around and supporting it, I guess. So I've been on a month long, or another month long, I guess, little escape break from YouTube. It's clear now I don't exactly announce when I'm going to be departing for a bit, as I did the last time. Last time before was in between the every freaking morning little little comedic, I guess, video, or just displayment of my cat and me and the nonsense that occurred each morning before. Just meant to be innocent fun. And after that, in between that and the second Too Much Talking Twink video. But who fucking cares? If you're wondering, just briefly, what the footage exactly will be in this video, as right now you're probably noticing a blackened screen with vague intervals of streets and headlights. It's a video I took while out on a cab ride by myself in the countryside of Ontario. It was in the middle of the night, and if I decide to get, I may get more into it later, I'm sure I will. Well, that's what the majority, or if not all, of this video footage will be. I'll explain a bit more, I guess, in a little while. And if my talking goes beyond the amount of footage that this has, because I took a damn lot of it just because I wanted to film something, anything, just for therapeutic remedies for myself, then I'll just cut it with, I don't know what else. Pictures from my camera roll or some shit, I'm not sure. Or just leave it as a blackened screen of something, I don't know. We'll cross the bridge when we get to it, if we do. So, should be frank, I guess, from the title of this video. I have a general idea of what I may title it. I have not exactly been doing so well psychologically. Not just in the most recent of times, but for a very... Hold on a second. Hey. Going out? Okay. Hang on. Sorry, that was just one of my cats. I've not been doing well psychologically for quite a long time. Now, it doesn't mean I'm in total emotional disarray. But things have been hindering on my psychiatric state. And I guess I wanted to make this video just to explain it a bit more. For stuff going forward on this channel, I guess. Just to have a bit more knowledge of what's going on with me, or a bit more about myself, I guess. I don't know. That was supposed to be saved for more of the TMTT videos, or anything else really. But fuck it, who cares? Most of the shit's gonna be spewed in this one anyway. And I will say, as I said in one of my earlier videos, that I was singing in a tunnel. Again, just to ease myself a bit, and just to provide some good content for you guys, just to give some entertainment. It doesn't primarily... I said it didn't have to do with my career choices of being a porn maker, or a cam boy, or a pornographer, or sex worker, or whatever you want to call it. It doesn't primarily have to do it. Okay, at the time with that little interval where I was mentally, it didn't have to do with that. With right now, it doesn't primarily have to do with that, but it has to do with a combination of a whole bunch of shit. And I'm just gonna say this right off the bat before I get into more stuff. For all those of you out there who are saying that all sex workers are damaged psychologically by sexual abuse of some kind, false, one. And I'll get into my opinion, I guess maybe more of that in a bit. And two, no, that's not what has caused a lot of my psychological turmoil. But trust me, a lot of other shit has. So I'm just gonna say that up front, because apparently this is one thing that pisses me off about so many people's hypocritical stances on sex work. People claim that they're... Obviously, I think a lot of people in the world and society are traumatized to an extent, are psychologically damaged. I think some people who I hate, who I've talked about in my ideation video, you can hate someone but still want help for them. You hate most of their behavior, so it's fair enough to say you hate them. You can still want help for them. Where I was going with that is that for people who really, maybe you have some moral prejudice against their decisions for that line of work, for whatever reason it may be. So many people claim to say that they're damaged and they need, it's gonna sound cliche, but tender love and care, which I would agree with anyone who is in sex work and is being forced into it and does not want to be in that situation, or has gone to it because of nymphomania or sex addiction. But then those people who say that also, who claim that they want to give them nothing, these people claim that they want to give them nothing but love. And I'm not against obviously giving compassion obviously to people you despise. You should, in my view. But these people claim to be all for methods of just love, no hate, and yet they very much demean and despise these people. Now, you can make jokes, in my opinion, about people you hate. It's because people need some sort of comic levity to help them through all the terrible shit others have done. And also, it could be a way to get those people that you're trying to make fun of to change their behavior. I don't know, it's possible. In the own realms of psychology. Anyway, I don't know why. Here's another fucking thing I clearly seem to do, is I over-explain bloody well everything. I explain and explain and explain so much shit because I feel like I never make myself clear enough with what I have to say. Or I feel like, especially because of what I will get into with chronic health issues and neurological problems, I feel like, and even before I had these, I felt like I needed to cover my basis on things of explanation. And I could probably delve into my own psychological state and possibly come up with some reason for that. But right now I'm in no fucking mood to go completely in depth on why I analyze every single, why I over explain so much shit. But anyway, so let me get into this, I guess. For the past 2 years now, I've been suffering from, at multiple points, debilitating chronic health issues. And I'll give you a timeline, or at least I guess a brief enough timeline of what happened. So, in 2020, a bit after the pandemic started kicking off, when things were going more into lockdown, especially here in Canada, I was at home, and before this I had been an avid coffee drinker. Now, I wouldn't call myself an addict to it. I wasn't addicted to it. I drank it to give me, well, to wake me up, as many people do, and because I genuinely enjoyed the bloody well taste of coffee. Many people don't. They just do it for the effect of the caffeine that's blocking melatonin receptors in your actual, well, your cerebrum and midbrain, and that's neurological terms. I'm not going to get into that yet. And just to keep them awake. Now, I would limit myself to, I always made a limit to myself because I knew of the dangers of possible caffeine. I knew, and this is real, you can do your own research on this or for medical knowledge, of a caffeine overdose. And yes, that is real, and caffeine is a very potent chemical. It's very strong. And this isn't me preaching to anyone to tell them to stop drinking coffee. It is absolutely your choice, and not everyone experiences an overdose or develops any sort of major health crisis because of it. But anyway, I would limit myself to 1 cup, well, not 1 cup, 1 consumption, I'll say, of coffee a day. Or if I was going to drink it within a day, it would only be 1. But I must have been tired on this day. I don't fully remember or recall. Because I made, let's just say, I wasn't fully versed in how to make at-home potted coffee. I'd always gone out and bought it with money that people in my household had given me. Long story short, I put way too much coffee ground in. Wasn't thinking. Terrible at math. Was terrible at the measurements. Just didn't think at all. I was being a complete fucking idiot. Made it. Made the brew. Put a ton of sugar in it. Put a ton of cream. And I'll tell you how much it was. If you know a German beer stein glass, filled to the brim, that's how much it was. With a whole bunch of sugar, a whole bunch of cream. And I drank maybe about, again, estimating with my terrible math, I drank about 1/3 of it. Not even the full thing, not even half. And then a little while after on that day, I started getting incredibly nauseous. My heart started racing, felt like it was going to explode out of my chest. I was having complete shaking spasms. They were spasms, actually, not just jitters. Now, people in my household just dismissed it almost completely. And long story short, I suffered from caffeine overdose. I went in the next few days to my general practitioner, who said that I should have gone to the emergency room, to the hospital, as they would have given me intravenous to try and flush out the effects of the caffeine with fluids. Now, despite my research of certain things with neurology and all that, I don't know, and physiology, I don't know the exact science of how it would flush it out, but it could flush it out of the bloodstream, possibly. But I didn't, because of issues that I was having with the people in my household. And after that, I developed chronic nausea. And this chronic nausea persisted for a year. A whole year. The worst part about this bit is I have emetophobia. And if you don't know what emetophobia is, and I'll briefly explain, it's the fear of vomiting. Either of yourself vomiting, of other people vomiting, or both. Mine isn't with other people, it's just specifically with me vomiting. I don't know why. I could probably point to in my childhood possibly having a traumatic vomiting experience, which is usually how emetophobia is formed, psychologically speaking. But I don't fully know. But I have it. And I got so skinny within that year. Not of my own choice, despite what certain people around me were beginning to think. I was so nauseous that I could barely eat. I tried eating. I damn well tried. And I had to eventually go to a gastroenterologist to try and see what these stomach issues could have been. And for a while, it jumped around from very first possible prognosis being anxiety, which I'll get into more later, but I'll just give you the gist. Whenever it comes to physiological symptoms, I don't think in the medical world, or just generalized with practitioners practicing, that physical symptoms should ever be guessed first to be psychological. I'm highly against that. Like, this doctor didn't do any tests really first, and just solely jumped to that. But I digress. Eventually it possibly jumped to GERD, or acid reflux, sometimes severe acid reflux GERD. There was the thrown about with my own research, possibility of thinking Crohn's disease, which is the hardening of fat around the, I believe it's the colon, or possibly the large intestine, but either way. Then eventually it landed on the main possibility being gastroparesis, which plays into neurology. If you don't know what gastroparesis is, it's a gastrointestinal condition where digestion within the stomach and intestines is slowed, like the emptying flap that goes into the actual intestines from the stomach lining is slowed, because most often attributed to damage to the vagus nerve that runs along the stomach. Now, the vagus nerve is, in my opinion, and I'd probably say most practitioners' opinions, or at least in terms of medical science, the most important nerve in your body, as it controls, is the main primary functioner from the rest of your organs to the medulla oblongata and the brainstem. It controls all your involuntary functions: heartbeat, breath, sneezing, blinking, swallowing, digestion in the stomach, nausea, vomiting, certain joint reflexes, and all these different things. And anyway, I say that because gastroparesis, it's theorized most likely that it stems, or most often does stem, from damage in the stomach region to the vagus nerve that would aid in digestion and control digestion mainly. So that was the idea that was being thrown around for a while, and I eventually went to get a stomach emptying test done, and it came back negative. But then again, this is when the stomach issues started to let up, I'll say, because now, thankfully, after a year of torment, they're gone. But then something else started. But anyway, so for a year, I went down to such a thin weight, not to the point of, like, say, someone with severe anorexia or bulimia, so like certain eating disorders, but okay, my regular weight, I'd say, before my whole health issues started, and it still hasn't fully bounced back despite me being able to eat almost anything now within reason of certain limits that I put on myself. My regular weight before, I'd say, was maybe 127 pounds. I'm going by pounds because mix of fucking ideas of imperial and metric system or whatever. I don't know if I'll explain that here. And so I was maybe around 127 or 128. That's not me bragging about my weight if I was any sort of fit. I'm just saying, like, what it was. I don't give a shit about my physical appearance, but anyway. After the overdose and chronic nausea, barely being able to eat, I went down to, at the worst, within the whole rest of the year of 2020, to about early to mid 2021. I was about 111, 110. That's how much weight I lost. And there are people in my life who can attest to this. And I was horrified. Not because of how the fuck I look, because of the possibility of death. Now, despite me, I'll just share my religious views here, as I'm sure it'll get into more philosophical, ideological conversation in a bit. I'm an agnostic atheist, or I consider myself that, which basically means, for the most part, combining atheism and agnosticism, you don't believe in any sort of God or higher power, any sort of primordial or omnipotent entity of any kind, or entities, but you do believe in the possibility of an afterlife of some kind. Not anything like heaven or hell or paradise or I think it's the realms. I forget the realms names in Hinduism, but anything like that. But the possibility of our consciousness going somewhere. I call it a consciousness, not a soul, because that's, well, it's really a made-up term, but whatever. Anyway. Despite this, despite me being an atheist of some kind, I'm not afraid to admit that I do fear death. And I personally believe, from a lot of stuff I've seen, that everyone to a certain extent, even people who are extremely suicidal, to a certain point fear their mortality, fear death, fear the other side. In irrational states of thought, obviously they don't. I can speak from personal experience as well as this, as well as research. But I feel that we don't, okay, no matter who you are, no matter what your belief is, I'm sorry to tell you, but even if you're a hard-on atheist or standardized atheist or anti-atheist, people who more so would believe in a blackened void after our consciousness is gone, there is no concrete proof for what happens after we pass, of anything. There's hypotheses, certain ones that I lean more towards, certain ones that other people lean more towards, others just crafted out of religious science or pseudoscience or just religious factition. This isn't me slamming anyone who's religious. They're innocent, amazing people who are religious, who are incredibly selfless, amazing people who are helpful or have passions of their own as well. But anyway, I digress again. Point being, I fear death. I do. I'm not afraid to admit that. And now obviously that doesn't mean I do anything to keep myself alive. Obviously not. I'm not going to detriment others at all to a great extent to try and keep myself alive for my own selfish purpose. But there I fucking go again, explaining some other shit. I fear death, okay? And this scared me. Now, when I was younger, a few brief history of that, I started researching stuff about the world and things that interest me at a younger age. Now, I was more ignorant, obviously, to things than I am now. So I'm severely ignorant. I was a very closed-minded person to multiple things when I was younger. And as I believed, and I mentioned in the second Too Much Talking to Ink video, kind of ironic, seeing as my blatant, pretty well ignorant homophobia earlier on in life. Hey, now I'm a fucking gynosexual, so, well, I not now, always was, but okay. Anyway. I was scared of what may happen. And eventually, with no answers after tests, blood tests, gastro tests, MRI imaging to possibly see if I had a tumor of some kind or growth of some kind in my cerebrum, which is the wrinkly part of the dome of your brain, or in my brainstem or cerebellum or something, but all to no avail. And eventually my doctor put me on medications that were antiemetics to stop the production of, to basically, okay, I'll explain some brief bit of neurochemical science, I guess. In the medulla oblongata, in the CT zone, there are two chemicals that are needed to form a chemical called ACT. Those chemicals are serotonin and dopamine. When they connect, I guess I'll say, or they intercross in the medulla oblongata in the CT zone, they form the chemical of ACT, which is short for a much longer name that I do not remember. And ACT then irritates the CT zone. That irritation is the feeling of nausea, at least to my knowledge, from what I researched. Like the feeling that you can get, the queasy feeling you can get in your stomach or possibly in the back of the head for certain people. And And then yes, and then if the irritation gets too much, then it triggers the vomiting center in the medulla oblongata, sending signals down the spinal cord, through the vagus nerve as well, down to the stomach muscles, about the stomach lining, causing them to constrict, and well, then forcing you to projectile vomit, basically. So, different forms of these medications. The first one I was put on was domperidone, and that blocked dopamine. It was a dopamine receptor antagonist. And it worked for a little while, and then it lost its effect. So then they put me on another one. And I had asked about, I don't blame my general practitioner for this. I had suggested it mainly. They put me on metoclopramide, which doesn't block chemicals. It full on blocks signals and crosses the blood-brain barrier. It blocks signals between the CT zone and vomiting center in the medulla oblongata, and I felt like death when I was on that pill. It was the worst, even worse than I feel now. I thought I was dying. I felt like my muscles were atrophying. I felt like I could barely walk and completely lethargic and just incredibly sickly feeling. So I had to get off it. It worked for maybe one day with the nausea. It was great, and then it was just debilitating. And then I went on prochlorprazine, which is once again a dopamine antagonist. And this one worked for the longest time, and I still have it, though I don't take it regularly at all. It worked well enough. It's an antiemetic and antipsychotic drug, but I don't take it for antipsychotic properties. It worked, but then around the time I started taking it, and this is where the more meat of the story I guess comes into, for now the past year, because I started taking it in April of 2021, I started developing miscellaneous neurological problems to a point where my general practitioner referred me to a pediatric neurologist, because at the time I was still 17. I'll just go through a short list, I guess, of all the symptoms I was feeling, and I can put a timestamp, I guess, possibly in the description where to skip to if you don't want to hear a lot of them. I'll see. If not, just fast forward through the fucking thing. I was dealing with trouble sneezing for a while. I kept feeling like I had the urge to sneeze, and it never would. It's not like just it wouldn't come. It would go to fire, and then nothing. It was painful at points. I had numbness, tingling in my legs, behind my head, and I had balance issues. I had dyspraxic symptoms, which is basically off-kiltered balance or slight trouble with miscoordination, or slight trouble with coordination. Dysarthric symptoms with speech issues, and dysphasic symptoms as well, with a certain formation of, well, not formation, but order of words and relaying them, which I had actually initially thought was all, in terms of neurology, just called an articulation issue, but apparently no. Articulation is just dysarthric in terms of like formation of words, and it's a word finding issue, if a word formation or word finding issue if you're having trouble with sentence structure with it, or finding a word, which I eventually as well had. Blinking issues I would have, almost like where I would feel like I couldn't stop blinking at points. What else? Oh yes, and the main one that I've suffered from now is memory problems. I've made a fucking skit about it. Not memory loss, more say, in the most part, but blurred, distorted memory. from days. And that was the main one that was really hindering on me. So eventually, after months of going to general physician appointments, they couldn't figure it out. They sent me to a neurologist, and after finally meeting with them, their prognosis, and they were one of the best doctors I ever had, and I'll say that right now, if they're watching this, them and my now current psychologist are the two best physicians I've ever encountered, not just as doctors, as people. And I would love to get to know them more as people, but anyway, their prognosis mainly was not diagnosis, but prognosis. The theory was that the symptoms seemed to be, and they were right. During all this, I was researching my own symptoms as well, and I know the whole thing about not Googling your symptoms, but here's the problem. When you're going through actual physiological, psychological issues, yes, Googling your symptoms can be one of the worst possible things, because, look, if you type in, say you have a cough can be anything from a slight cold or a slight irritation in the lungs to lung cancer. It could be on that whole spectrum, because it's a physiological problem. If it's a physiological problem, there can be a load, an amalgamation of things that could be causing it. But anyway, I also did it though because I feel patients have the right to be informed and not just solely go off of what a doctor says, because there are, newsflash, manipulative and terrible people practicing in the medical world. There are. That's just the sad truth. So you should question things that are presented to you and see the logic behind them, what logic there is. But anyway, everything I had agreed with their possible prognosis that this could very well be what was happening. And okay, someone's just walking around upstairs. Sorry for that. But anyway, and I typed a bit of this in the description of the Everywhere at the End of Time in 36 minutes, my little take on that video. They said that my symptoms seem to be psychosomatic, or caused by psychosomatisism or somatization, which I'll briefly sum up is physiological problems or symptoms that are being caused not by any sort of physiological damage, disease, or disorder, but by psychological stressors or trauma, whether it's subconscious or consciously known issues that you're maybe just not paying enough attention to, that can manifest in a somatic disorder. And there can be a variety of these, but the general term could be psychosomatic. And from everything I had researched from this, because I didn't know much, I'd heard the term somewhat before, but I didn't pay much mind to it. And I was very worried about a possible physiological disorder or disease, possibly. Well, I didn't know. I didn't know what it was. I didn't assume. I didn't say I have this or have that, which many people, unfortunately, in the world, and my generation especially, when they do look up their symptoms, they potentially scare themselves into thinking, I have this, I have that. But I was still worried of the possibilities. Naturally so. But from my research of it, they were right. It made sense that these, in terms of neurology, these issues did not seem to be coinciding with any sort of one specific physiological problem. Like, because they were so sporadic in terms of, well, neuroscience or basic neurofunctioning or neurofunctionality, that it didn't make sense that one or a certain physiological damage or physical problem was causing all these, especially with how often they varied and switched around. But anyway, so that was the prognosis, and that's still the prognosis. There's more of a clear diagnosis with what could be causing, if they are psychosomatic, these issues. Even if it is physical, these other things do not help. I then started seeing a psychologist who I talked with for quite a while, and helped me come to realize certain things, and also just from my own experiences, just everything that was happening. Long story short, I'm diagnosed with, pretty well diagnosed by this point, with clinical depression. Not surprised that much. And there's a possibility that I have a form of dissociative disorder called Somatoform Dissociation, which is a much rarer form of dissociation. There's quite a few. There's, well, generalized dissociation, atypical dissociation, there's derealization, there's depersonalization, there's derealization depersonalization disorder, which is both, or otherwise known as DDD or DD disorder. And there's absorption, but anyways, that's a whole bunch more that I can get into a different video, if I do. But somatoform dissociation is basically dissociative feeling. Like, dissociation in general is, I'll explain like the generalized one, is if you feel like you're in a constant mental haze or fog, or your perception of the world around you is distorted in a certain way, blurred almost. For derealization, it's much worse. From what I've known, it's been described as feeling like the outside world is not real. From your perspective, almost like a dream. And depersonalization is mainly you do not feel real within your own body. And it's psychological. It's more neuropsychology as well, where the nervous system basically, it could subconsciously be trying to absolve itself of trauma or stress that could be hindering, like in the limbic system of your brain, or in the hippocampal, amygdala, pituitary axis, from cortisol. Or it's basically your psychological emotional state basically causes your nervous system, your cerebrum, to your nervous system basically it blocks off, attempted, I guess, possibly cortisol production in certain cases, not all. Or, okay, well, I'm tired right now. I'm not in the best state to be explaining this stuff at all. But anyway, basically, your psychological state affects your neurological state to basically hinder your perception of the world around you, and basically more neuropsychology. And somatoform is that, plus the presentation of pseudo-neurological issues in other portions of the body, which sounded really on the ballpark of what I'd been dealing with. And where I came to realize a lot of this stuff, of where at the very least how emotionally distraught I'd been feeling at many points, was because of people in my immediate life. Now, I'm just going to say, I didn't go towards... Okay, well, I went towards wanting to be an artist of some kind, or still more so wanting to be an artist of some kind, because I've already explained this as well in other videos, I want to try and present my views and thoughts on things, the world, and try and talk about issues going on with morality, ideology, people's lives, philosophy of some kind, the moral dilemmas that we face as people, or the inherent human flaw that we all have to a certain extent, biological flaws, as well as trying to give people some form of escapism. It's as well because of my own self-interest. I'm gonna say this right now, just before I get into more talking about this. With all my beliefs, so like recently I've been, because of a lot of, say, this dissociative feeling and other issues, I felt like my moral understanding of things and my ideologies, my philosophies, are ones that I had affiliated with or just identified with. Now, this doesn't mean I agree with everything that these ideologies or philosophies state, so I've discerned my own opinions from them as well, but I overall identify as being a part of them, mainly because I agree with the majority of it, but not all of it. That same goes for, I said this even in my first Too Much Talking Twink video, that goes for pretty well everything. So I was talking about stupid political ideology names. But most of my beliefs come from a balance of what, and I've recently, anyway, what I was saying, a friend of mine told me that I should write down my morals and ideologies and philosophies and like jot them down, possibly in a journal, but I have a notes app on my phone, so I make lists on them already. It's just my spare time, so I decided to do it there. And it has been helping, but I've been slow process it. I put writing my games, plot outlines for my video games on hold, put off contacting people with fucking Pornhub, and just possibly, I guess, maybe another gambling site, I don't know, just with my pornographic career and sex work career, to get more into that field. And now, as I actually said as well, I realized another passion of mine that I really do love after some of the other videos that I made on here, that I edited the description part of this channel. I do love photography very much and have knowledge in that, and I've realized I also want to be a stock photographer. Now that somewhat relates to my sex work profession, not at all entirely. I mean, like, just stock images as well of a variety of things, artistic creation for others to use free. But anyway, I started writing them down, but then I realized for certain beliefs of mine, it became apparent to me with talking to other people that I know who like getting into more philosophical and ideological talks and discussions of values and beliefs, that, or in sociology of some kind, that I realized some of the beliefs I hold, they're not exactly, like, a lot of people have these variations of certain beliefs, but I thought they were so different from what they initially were that they deserve their own name. And I guess I'll explain more about them in a bit, but I've coined, and I don't want to say coined because that kind of sounds like I'm trying to sound like I'm some sort of philosopher or something. I'm not. I didn't create these ideas. Like, I wanted to give them a name for my own personal use, just so that I have something to label them and remember them. But I felt like they were so different enough, and enough people hold these variations of this belief, or like this sector of ideology or philosophy, that they deserve their own name, like their own category. At least this is how I felt. And yes, if you couldn't guess right now, the footage that you've been watching is cabaret from the middle of the countryside through fucking Brampton, Ontario, and down into Toronto. There goes this fucking CN Tower. Pride and joy of fucking proud, patriotic, nationalist fucking Canadian civilization. But anyway, I thought they deserved their own names, and there was one that I called self-maintaining altruism, which basically, in shortest possible terms, means I've held this belief of, and it relates to all my other beliefs as well, mainly, especially with me identifying as a libertarian communist and others, or say as an optimistic nihilist, uh, uh, a realistic optimist, or oh, what other one now? Fuck, I wrote these down for a reason. There you go. Just a whole bunch of other ones. Basically meaning having your own self-interest in whatever realm of your life it is, whilst helping others achieve their wants and desires and goals and necessities as well in whatever way you can. Now, for others that can be more extensive than someone else, but in some form or another, I believe everyone should have that. Now, obviously, other people have different opinions and differ with me on that, but, well, there's a reason there are people who are sociopaths and are empathyless, or have hefty traits of it, or narcissists, or egotists, and all this. But anyway, I was writing them down and I came to realize stuff about this and about, you know what? I have it here for a reason. This will explain a lot of what has been going on recently. I've been getting in heavy issues with people in my immediate life. And people in my household. I'm not going to name I'm not going to say their roles in my life, even if I read what I'm about to read, or who they are, or their names, or anything. Because I still fucking care about privacy. But I'll hold on. I'll read it in a sec, I guess, because this is about to extend, like, past the amount of footage that I had. It'll make more sense after hearing it, I guess. But anyway, I felt so clouded with my moral discernment of things that I just, with all this culminating in one, with so much shit, with my health issues, distortion of memory, and all this, immediate household life and the world around me, fucking struggling under capitalist systems, hypocritical traditionalism, or traditionalist way of thinking. People just having no care for others. I felt like giving up. And this isn't the first time I felt like committing suicide. And I say that bluntly. I have been heavily suicidal recently. So fucking much. And this suicidal ideation was God, there go my fucking word finding issues again. I'm trying to friggin' find a way to present this and articulate this well enough. There are points where I just felt like I lost it. I still don't know if I'm going to lose it. Psychologically. And I'll explain more in a sec. But I had so much hope for people so much before. And I'm going to say this right now, I'm an idealist. I am. I'm not a fucking pragmatist. Yes, I have to operate in pragmatic ways, or practical ways, like, not different, practical, whatever. I have to operate in pragmatic ways, because we have no choice. We are right now, if we want to just stay alive, or function together well enough, we're having some of our self-interest as well. We have no choice, to a certain extent, but to function with these horrible systems that have been put in place of governance or societal standards, economic systems, and the environment around us, whatever else. And but I think what would be called realistic idealism, realistically idealist. That's different from what I had talked about before with idolization or idealization, I'd say, where you're putting an unrealistic pedestal to someone or something. More of a different definition, I'd say. But and before I continue this as well, a lot of people are probably pointing at, say, with psychosomatic issues, that, well, pornographic addiction can cause memory problems and depression. You're right, it can, but that's with addiction. That's more so been proven to be with addiction. And yes, there are people who can have raised activity in the striatum of the brain, which is the pleasure center, but not everyone, and not even technically a majority of people. But I've tested the theory of addiction. I was open to it as well, and people will automatically assume that you're a porn addict if you're in the industry, one, or if you just consume it. That depends on the person, but I'd say more conservative thinkers. I tested the idea of that, and I can safely say that I'm not. Even my neurologist brought that up. Me and them differ. Though we seem to agree on a lot of things, we differ on that notion of sex work. I tested it. I guess I won't say completely how, but deprived myself. And I know it's more than just depriving yourself, not just seeing how long you can go without it. It's whether you get the habitual tendency to do so. I'm aware of that. It's not just, oh, okay, I'm going to wait this long, I'm going to wait this long, I'm going to wait this long, and then I'll be able to do it. I'll be able to use this thing. That right there can be very, very clear discussion of addiction, habitual use. If you're just waiting for when your opportunity comes to use it. No, I deprived myself, and I had no desire to use it, not just because of my depressed feeling, but I was happy at points or more joyful moments And I wasn't happier than when I wasn't using it, obviously. I didn't use it in great intervals. And obviously I have my opinion on how it can help women's rights in many regards, or men's rights, masculinism and feminism, both equality and egalitarianism. And though it can be... Okay, sex work can be empowering and dehumanizing. It can be both. There's good and bad. Same with art. Well, that is a form of art. Same with other forms of art. Same with a multitude of things, but that's another topic for another fucking time. Why do I... I'm about to run out of time on this amount of footage, so I'm gonna have to continue it with something else. But at a prime myself attested, I felt overall I didn't feel the need for it, but I didn't feel happier without it or miserable, depressive without it. I felt neutral on the feeling of it towards it. And it's not saying desensitization to sex, of course not. I value romantic and platonic intimacy because I am more promiscuous of a person, or sexually promiscuous. I value both, and I believe in, for romance, I believe in emotional connectivity and platonic intimacy as well. Emotional investment, not just actually with sex, with friendships, with any sort of work environment or who you interact with is emotional investment or human investment or sentient investment. But I'll get into that another time. This is about to run out, and that's just my whole thing, little spiel on the possibility of investment is what I was about to finish with that sentence. It got cut off by the footage ending. Anyway, going past all that, because that'll all potentially be for another video in the fucking future. I'm going to read, and the next few images, like whatever duration they are, 10 minutes for almost each of them. They're just what I could find in my fucking camera roll. One's a side photo of some houses, the other's of the absolute condos in Mississauga, Canada, and another is of a drawing that well, not a drawing, but a scratch outline I did with one of those scratch away color boards that I made that represents fucking communism and peace and love, I guess. Why not? That's what I preach. And the last one's just a fucking photo of me, a selfie I did, that one I thought looked nice enough when I took it, and it was for a purpose, for an actual portfolio or profile picture of someone. But anyway, you know, that's kind of a narcissistic tendency of me. Whoopee. Anyway, I'm going to read this. What I'm about to read is something I had printed out for some other people to read, and those people and me had gone extensive fights about this. Extensive, a lot. And a psychologist has seen it. He has some thoughts, but I'll read it, and I'll change names, or if I end up accidentally saying one, I'll bleep it out or something, or put some sort of distortion over it. I'm not sure, but yeah, fuck it. This is a conversation that I had with a friend of mine in America, another country to the south. Well, technically to the north of where it was. This will explain a lot about things going on with me, and just give a bit of some leeway into my life, I guess, for whatever else I continue on with this in the future on YouTube, or whatever else I choose to explain, be transparent with. Okay. Probably gonna have to I'll put a fucking warning as well for shit that'll be in this video. Disturbing content relating to suicide, psychological disparity, and heavy emotional issues. Okay. Try and read this as quick as I possibly can, and some of these notes are scattered around, so I'll just have to fill in the blanks. So, this conversation with a friend, let's call them G. Okay, this is me. I text them. G, are you awake? This is G. Unfortunately, why? Me? Why do you say unfortunately? G, because I want to be sleeping. Why? Me? Never mind. G, tell me. I'm up, tell. Me, no, I want you to sleep with relative ease. G, now I'm not gonna, so fucking tell me, please. It's going to bother me all night now, so please tell me, man. I want to know, believe me, I can sleep, but sleep can come later, tell me please. Me. Can I be brutally honest with you? Sorry, this fucking thing just... Okay, that just slid off. G. Yes. This was a little while later. As you can see, on the app I was using, you can see, like, when someone is typing it online. Man's writing a fucking book. You can always be honest with me, and I'll sleep just fine. Tell me, please. Oh, hold on a second. Oh, I just flipped to the wrong side. Okay, lost my pace. There it is. Man's writing a fucking book. You can always be honest with me, and I'll sleep just fine. Evidently, this was urgent, so now I want to know. I'm going to be tossing and turning all night worrying about it now. Me. I want to die. In this moment now, and so many more before, I want nothing more than to just fade out of existence, gain total memory loss, or dementia. What you don't know is dementia is the atrophy of the entire brain structure. It's not just memory loss. Okay, whatever. I'm not going to explain that now. Or die, even with my fear of death. Right now, I hate almost everything in this horrid world. Every single thing... every single thing and thing I once loved or believed to be good and genuinely helpful and hopeful are either so diminished that I can barely find solace in them, or they just seem like ignorant, useless, or awful. Everything that I knew I was is gone. Right now, everything I believed has completely come into question. But I can't seemingly truly question anything properly anymore. All my morals, my ideologies, values, philosophies, they all just float above my conscious, cognitive thoughts, and it almost never ends. I want to die either by my own hand or someone else's. Yesterday I had an appointment with a periodontic surgeon, which was actually wrong. I didn't get the actual terminology for the surgeon right. It's a maxillofacial surgeon. To discuss things involving bone erosion in my gums that have been there for years, and in the car after my blank, I'm just gonna censor the names. I'm sure people can figure out what positions they hold in my life. After my blank said something that just proved how little them and many other people in my life and world actually bothered to think critically about things. This depression came at full strides, and I hoped that with Their terrible driving skills, they crashed the car, just made a wrong move and crashed it. Drove into an oncoming intersection at high speed and smashed the car into unrecognizable oblivion. More so on my side than theirs. I didn't imagine or want anything bad to happen to them, other than maybe a few bruises in my fantasy, but I hoped that the crash would kill me, just drive a metal shelling into one of my heart valves, or sever my spinal cord, or break my neck and fatally damage my medulla oblongata, or at the very least cause cerebral death. Every fucking day now, it's one major morality crisis after another. The torment won't stop. So much so now, I can never fully understand where my morals lie. What I believe to be right and wrong, helpful or detrimental, or a mix of both. And the moments that I feel I've gained my perspective or knowledge back and feel motivated to do something, anything, some other creeping thought or counterpoint comes along and destroys it all, or I mess up something because of my neurological problems and it all just comes crashing down again. Every ounce of commitment or motivation or joy or hope or certainty I had crumbles into dust. I recently told my psychologist another suicidal fantasy I have. And also, I'm just cutting off from this dialogue that we're having right now, I'm just gonna jump in here for a second. Most of this stuff right now I am not heavily feeling, where I've gotten past and been able to discern certain things for myself. This is how it was a few weeks ago, the state and irrational thoughts I was heavily in. Tonight it's somewhat got around here, but for the most part in the last few weeks or the last few days, it's been relatively fine. It hasn't been such deep irrational thoughts like this. But I'm going to censor the name of a certain country coming up in case it hurts my chances of possibly getting in there, not just for if I'd end up ever going through with this, but in future travel, because this has been a country I've wanted to go to for a long time. If you're a geography buff or nerd, or into geopolitics or whatever else, you could probably discern from how I describe it what country it is, but whatever. I told him about another fantasy I have. It is the one that I most constantly have now. And by this point, I'm tempted to go through with it. I told them that if I'm going to commit suicide, I'm going to apply for a visa, withdraw a certain amount of money from my bank accounts, and fly to blank blank. Why? In my opinion, it is the most beautiful and strange city in the world, along with the entire country in terms of strangeness. Blank, in my opinion, is the weirdest and most fascinating country in the whole world. Its history, its government, its societal structuring, so much of it, and the culture and its innocent people is incredibly beautiful and heartwarming and generous and peaceful, at least to me. The capital / biggest city of blank is made entirely of blank, every single building, and there's gold statues laid throughout the different neighborhoods. It has a population of 1 million people, but it is estimated it could house about 2 million people because certain entire districts of the city are completely pointless. They're full of empty buildings that are just for decoration, and in the daytime in those districts, and even some of the sections that do house the majority of its populace, are totally empty. At about 8 p.m., the streets come to life with the blank people, and that wasn't any sort of like derogatory thing. I was labeling the nationality or ethnicity, whatever. Fucking. But the rest of the time, it's like an introvert's paradise. It's often referred to as the empty city of blank. It's gorgeous. Governmentally, and I put environmentally in here, but I meant to say economically, I'd compare blank to the China of the region, the China of the Middle East. I'll say that. I was not going to refer to the region in case it'd be easier to figure out. It'll be easy to fucking figure out after. With a much stranger take on stronghold authoritarianism. That's not me at all promoting authoritarianism. That's me just fucking stating the governmental system and political structure. Its other cities are beautiful too, but not nearly as stunning as blank. They have some blank buildings, but nowhere near as close to the amount of blank, which has every single building encrusted in blank. If I'm going to end my life, that's where I want it to be. I'll renew my passports, which I had thought I need to just renew them, but now that I'm 18 and need an adult passport for application, blah blah blah. This may hurt my chances of even getting that. That is an alarm going off telling me to go to sleep because it's 3 a.m. and that's my usual set bedtime for myself. Fuck it, I don't care. Or was I? Oh yes. I'll renew my passports, was wrong about that. Fill out a visa application. All going well, the foreign consulate ministry of the country will accept it and I will be allowed to travel there, or I can try gaining a visa upon entry to the country. Either way, whatever method I choose, that's what I'll do. I go for walks frequently and my blank doesn't know where in the city I go. If my flight is scheduled for the day, I'll just tell them I'm going on a fucking walk, say goodbye and leave, and if it's for the night, I'll one by one say my final goodbyes to blank quietly as they sleep, sneak out of house and go off and away to the desert land of 1,000 tales, as it's often referred to in many cultural instances around there, to the city of blank. I'll say goodbye in my own subtle way, or as subtle as possible, to my friends in the days before. Once I reach the city, I'll just bloody well roam it aimlessly, taking in the beauty and vividness of it all, taking in the people I see, maybe try and talk to a few of them. Probably wouldn't do me much good, seeing as I don't know how to speak a certain dialect or vernacular of Iranian, I'll say, or Persian, even though there are other languages, whatever. Nonetheless, their vernacular. Then maybe wander out into the outer desert landscape and mountains that surround the city, or hell, hitch a ride to any of the other major cities. Blank, 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 blank. Might as well experience it all before I off myself. Probably record an audio diary, because here's a little newsflash, just quickly interval again. A while ago I record audio diaries just to get down my thoughts of things. Whatever, okay, just for my own peace of mind, but probably record, where was I? Fuck, okay. Probably record an audio diary explaining shit for whatever reason, and find a way to mail my phone back home. Right now I ultimately wouldn't care if it reached Canada. Then, all being said and done, I'll return to blank, find a rope of some kind, or just something that can be used lethally to try, usually to try and find a way, and then try and find a way on top of one, fuck, my wording. Try and find a way on top of one of the buildings, watch the sunset over the gleaming blank and gold and all the blank below, then just do it. Tie the rope to something, wrap it around my throat, and jump off the ledge or down some chemical solution or something. I don't fucking know. That's what I do. I die alone, millions of miles away from my homeland, far away from the mayhem. Then I go on for this. I'm an idealist, G. Or at least I was. I found a channel on YouTube that has this description section, and I think it perfectly sums up how the hell I felt this past month. For a quick disclosure, I don't fully remember the name of the channel. If I find it, I'll link it in the description. I believe it's called Flawed Idealist, or Fundamental Idealist, or Fractured Idealist of some kind. Frustrated Idealist, that's what I think it was. It's an underrated channel. They post a lot of George Carlin stuff. He's one of my favorite comedians, but okay, anyway. Quote from George Carlin: "Inside every cynical person, there's a disappointed idealist." And this goes on to the description of this channel called Frustrated Idealist. At least I think it is. "I get that a fundamental problem with being an idealist is that my aspirations for the human condition are no doubt unrealistically high. But one might ask where those aspirations even came from. I think despite that which handicaps the collective human experience, the better angels of our nature have at least informed how I feel about where our future should be headed. These days I'm buried under my own cynicism, parents, religion, the political system, the economic system, people in general. Throughout my 4+ decades of living in this paradigm, I've lost the faith in pretty much everything, and it's not like I haven't given it all a chance. Where was I? I haven't given it all a chance. Any aspirations I may have for my speeches have been tempered by so much reality, my dreams so compromised that I think the human condition is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. How sad that it is that I'm so often brought to the point where I ask, are we redeemable?" Then my friend responded back with, okay, this is G talking. "Okay, look man, I get it. Life is shit right now. But you have your whole life ahead of you. You are just going to throw in the towel? Struggles exist to be overcome. Think about everyone else in your life. Imagine how much this will hurt them. Life is shit right now, but it will get better, man. You're figuring out who you are. It kind of sounds like you're having an identity crisis right now. Suicide doesn't make the pain go away, it simply transfers it to someone else." Me. How ironic. G. It's a true statement though. Me. No, I mean how ironic of you and so many others around me to have the nerve to tell me that. And just so you're aware, this friend and me hold very opposing social and political views on many things. G. What do you mean? You know what? Let's video chat. We didn't end up doing that. What do you want me to say then? You literally told me you are suicidal. How am I supposed to take that? Me. How ironic that after all your preaching about capitalism and objectivism and hard work and pragmatism, striving for wealth with labor, and most of all humanity being inherently selfish and greedy, and yet somehow you and others have the gall to tell me that I'll be hurting someone else by my act of suicide. What a blatant double standard. I want to kill myself, but I shouldn't because I'll be destroying someone else's psychological health. But I also wanted to help others and believe that nobody deserves more income or food than anyone, and wanted to share my earnings with the impoverished and disparaged. But I shouldn't because that's a bleeding heart. You shouldn't care about others' financial disparity. You need to save money so you can earn money for yourself and only yourself, and earn more and more and more and more, and invest to earn more than that. Why care about other people's lives or well-being? Suicide? No. You'll be destroying other people's lives and well-being." I'm probably going to have to add some more fucking images to the end of this to possibly get it going on. I don't even know if this video will export with the amount of storage I possibly have. I don't know. We'll see what comes. G. Suicide is the choice right here and now. Caring for your blank is different than strangers. You can if this or what that about helping others and all you want. I think they meant to say you can care about helping others all you want. It was typos. But caring about your blank is different. But right now, nothing can be done. Suicide, however, is a choice. One you could choose to make right here and now. I see a clear difference. And a little bit later, in hindsight, probably not the best choice of words, but you get the point I'm trying to make. The point I'm trying to make is this. Lofty aspirations are one thing, but ultimately until they come into fruition, they are just fantasies. However, suicide is not a lofty aspiration. It's something you gave the ability to make happen right now. It's not a lofty aspiration, a desire for greatness. It's a real, potentially life-altering thing for many people. Think of your blank and me and everyone else. And trying to help random people is different than helping your blank. Me. How is it different, G? How? How is it morally justifiable to only care or give any sort of a damn about the people around you? Mind you, I didn't say only care about strangers or care more about strangers than your own blank or friends. I just said care and look out for it in some way. So explain your ideal value to me. Did I enter into some kind of ethical, philosophical contract the day I was born to unconditionally love my blank, all because blank decided to fuck without protection? Do I unconditionally love my friends because I got to know them, because I talked to them and they interested me? What? People use the same excuse just like that. Think of blank, the blank that has constantly gaslit me and pulled from every contradicting hypocritical angle to prove me wrong when they have no evidence or clue what they are talking about. The blank that betrayed my trust so many times, one of which nearly got me killed. Think of my blank and I will say this, I was wrong about one person I'm talking about in this. I'm not going to use like their stance in my life or their names, but after further talking with this person, I was wrong about things I said about them in this. And I'll probably get into more of that in a bit. Think of my blank who, though often the most pleasant and tolerable, is a vain, conceited, inconsiderate macho man who doesn't bother to question barely anything in life and just thinks the world as their own personal playground and sits by while blank mentally and emotionally berate me. My blank, a blank who most definitely has severe histrionic personality disorder, borderline, not borderline, didn't mean to say that, bipolar disorder, and hefty egotistical traits, and refuses to acknowledge any of it or receive help, who praises me for thinking for myself and coming to my own ideological conclusions, then damns me for actually acting upon the morals and values I hold, a blank whose ignorance and arrogance has destroyed our lives, financially, psychologically, and physically. That is not referring to physical abuse, just in other realms, chronic health, then dismisses so much of it in what others and I in our circle feel to be important problems that need to be addressed. A blank who internalizes all their insecurities and fears and ignores problematic things around us and downs themselves in their body image to the point of narcissistic traits, as well as potentially bothersome ADHD. My friends, who now seem to all just be preoccupied in their own worlds, talking out of their asses and abandoning their ideals, if they ever even held those ideals in the first place, or they truly just wanted to be on the honorable side of morality. As you can see, I don't want to generalize in a whole sense, but hate using this term in a sense. I like for serious topics. Boomers, if you're listening to this, some pretty actual hefty shit that us youngins get into, it seems, if you're listening. Not your typical average, oh, you damn kids stuff. Bullshit my ass ageism. G. 1. I didn't know your relationship with blank was that rough. 2. In a way, yes, like it or not, they are your blank, they love you, they have sacrificed for you, you owe them that. If you hate them that much, move out and cut contact. You can't choose blank, you get the one you got, you care for yourself, blank, and your friends. And honestly, I think this is a really narcissistic worldview. I don't give a damn about morality. You don't just forsake your friends and blank wantonly. And you want to know how it's morally justifiable? Strangers haven't done anything for you. Your friends and blank, like it or not, have been there through thick and thin. They have been by your side. If you can't count on blank, then who the hell can you count on? If you have extra time or money, help the strangers out. What the hell? But prioritize blank, yourself, and your friends first. After they are all settled, if it tickles your fancy, help the strangers. But you are by no means obligated to. I've said this before and I'll say it again. People are out to get you more often than not. So you gotta keep the good ones close. I may be a heartless bastard, but I care for blank and friends. Just because they have done some shitty things doesn't negate all the good they have done. Me. That's not what narcissistic means. And I was using psychological terms there in psychology from what I've known of it in my own research. Fuck. Well, I'm gonna have to bleep that out. Has sacrificed certain things for me. Other times they think they have when they haven't, or they've sacrificed things that they thought that would help but did nothing of worth. Despite my internal rage, not to the point of hatred, mind you, I still don't wish spite upon them. Even if I moved away and I thought they were horrible, I would still send them funds, or at least I thought I would. Blank has not been there through thick and thin. No one is obligated to do anything. I'm not obligated to help strangers. I wanted to. But I am also by no means obligated to help blank or blank out of some moral contract. And as for keeping the good ones close, it seems I've kept the unpleasant and manipulative ones far closer. But I guess we're all just monstrous creatures deep down. G. It's our nature. Some of us are better at hiding it than others. Moral contract? You act like it's a burden to care for those who have helped and cared for you. Me. If our nature is truly just greedy, sociopathic egocentrism, or we can't fight back against it to make things better, then I won't contribute to this horrendous race anymore. I'll have one last venture and gaze of beauty, then leave. Snuff myself out of this horrible realm of existence. Go to whatever the hell comes next, whether it be better or worse than here. I'm gonna have to find another fucking image to put over this lapsing audio. Or this continuing segment, because it's running out of time. G. Our nature is ugly, it's true, but we don't always have to go with our nature, can we? It's the little moments of sunshine. You can try and make things better, but no guarantees anyone else will. Also, just because it's our nature doesn't mean everyone is on the same level. We're all fucked, one way or another. But our nature does not dictate us. It's our choices, the people we choose to be. If we surrender to purely our nature, then we are no more than animals. Also, you would cause unimaginable torment to everyone else that cared about you just because people are shit. You've hit rock bottom, now you have two choices. You can lie down, cry, admit defeat, or you can get up, brush off yourself, and move forward. You're 18. You've got your whole ass life ahead of you. Make something of it. Don't just give up when the going gets hard. That's when pushing through really matters. That's where the true character of a person is shown. I've tried making something of my life. I've faced so much hardship and gotten back up so many times, or at least I thought I did. Maybe I never left the ground. Maybe I've been dragging myself along the pavement for all these years. But maybe you're right. Maybe there is something to live for. But I'm lost, G. I can't critically analyze or discern what that is, and I can barely recognize or believe my morals and ideals anymore. And I can't rely on blank to find myself again. If they or you, my other friends, or anyone else has any insight or methods of help, or truly care to keep wasting their breath on this matter, then it better be done soon, because in the coming days, I'm going to try and renew my passports, then try and apply for a visa to blank. And if things don't turn around for my psyche, I'm going to be on that flight to blank. And if I can't make the flight, then I'll steal a boat, some food, and try crossing the Atlantic Ocean till I either die or reach the shores of Western Europe or Western Africa. Then from there, I'll trek across whichever continent until I reach Western Asia. Then from there to Central Asia till I come to the borders of blank. Mark my fucking words, Mr. Blank. If I'm going to take my own life, one way or another, it ends for me in blank. Or I die trying to reach the blank blank metropolis. Just so you're aware, I haven't gone through with any sort of process of trying to renew anything yet. I've been stuck in a rut, and it's been complicated with things. So I've been trying to, yes, get certain things, I guess, applications for my passport, but not solely for just that. Not at all, just that in the clear states of my mind, just because I need it in general. But I haven't gone through with any other extensive processes yet in terms of packing. I've come close to just full on leaving, but fuck. Okay. G. Meditation is what genuinely helps me. Also, what did you expect me to do with this information? You say this to me, but what was the point of telling me this? Of course I would try to talk you out of it. You're my friend and I care about you. What do you expect me to say? If you don't want me to be talking about it, why did you tell me? What am I supposed to do with this information? Be okay that my friend wants to die? I'm gonna have to find more fucking photos to use for this shit. This is going near, I believe, 2 hours long. So just to clear up until like this little bit here ends, I've come close to just full-blown packing whatever I can and leaving. When I'm in a real irrational state of thought in these last few weeks before. But not at every instance or every moment of every day. And in terms of like properly getting something secured for a plane ticket of some kind, or documents properly executed and organized and officiated. Okay, so I found an ugly ass photo of me from childhood after an operational surgery I had on my gums for teeth from when I was way fucking younger, reading Stephen King's It. It's one of my all-time favorite books. Photo of a pigeon in a building I took, and another fucking selfie I took of myself in a dark park. Just more fucking tendencies of looking like a narcissist, I guess, but didn't mean it that way. Just I took it because I thought it would look nice. That's it. Anyway, whatever. So the next day, along there, G, was the purpose of telling me this just to torture me? Or is there anything I can do to help you? Me? It obviously wasn't to fucking torture you. I might feel disillusioned, but I still have the compassion. I still have compassion and sympathy, despite it. Despite constantly feeling like I have none of it matters. I'm just on autopilot mostly. I say it because I feel like I'm going to either explode or collapse psychologically. Or as the theme of this whole conversation on my end was pretty much just saying fuck it to this bullshit species. And honestly, G, I don't know what you or many others around me can do right now. At least those Those who care to listen. I don't know. I went downtown with two of my best friends on Friday. I told them about all this. They were immensely concerned, and ironically, the one who helped me feel the most round and happy again for the day and was able to make me see more meaningful reason, God, getting lost in fucking the wording in my dissociative feeling and neurological problems again. Reason to life was my friend who has major traits of a psychopath. They have barely any empathy for people outside of their social circle, cares extensively about money, and has an even more nihilistic perspective on life than I did. As you can imagine, we heavily disagree on many things, or at least we did. So to answer your question plainly, I don't know. All I know is okay, I read that wrong. So to answer your question plainly, I don't know. All knowledge I thought I had about psychology, human behavior, sociology, morality, values, ideology, philosophy seems to be failing me at almost every possible turn now. G. It depends on how much effort you're willing to put into have a life. Depending on how much effort you want to put in to actually have a life, there are thousands of other avenues. You're no different than any other person that stumbles until they actually find their path. Me. I had found my path, or at least I thought I had. This isn't some damn what will your future career be crisis, or what the fuck I want to do with my life. This is a full-fledged existential and morality crisis, and ironically I was being pretty stupid there. That does relate. A lot of this, I was saying, this somewhat rational state of thinking now is being heavily idiotic. Many things I was saying. And just very dismissive to stuff. One that in part seems to have been boiling over for a long, bloody time. G. With all due respect, you're 18 years old. You don't have to have everything figured out. Me. Never said I did, and always knew I didn't have everything figured out, and that I don't know every fucking piece of knowledge on this planet. And that is one of the main excuses blank tried to use on me constantly. G. It's not an excuse, it's the truth. You don't have to have your place in reality figured out. Me. What a load of shit. For your information, I do have to have the knowledge that I do retain with me and in my life. I do have to have some form of plan. My blank have emotionally manipulated me and tried enforcing unreasonable and unbearable control over my free will and choice for so long. As a matter of fact, the older I got, the more freedom they tried to take away from me, and I wouldn't stand for it. I still won't. I've had to hold my ground with the knowledge and intellect that I have, so that and that's not me trying to brag about my intelligence or have some sort of whatever. I'll explain later on. With whatever intellect I have, so that they don't walk all over me or destroy what remains of my shambled life. We hold so many opposing views, and they're both so inept as to not discuss things civilly and resort to literal childish taunts that I have to stand my ground. And it's not out of some petty intellectual or superiority complex or egotism. I have to do it to literally be able to express my thoughts and opinions freely, to live my fucking life and keep myself safe, because they are so bloody well absolved by their own adulthood that they can't admit when they've failed. It lies. I think I lost the part for this. When they fail as blank, are so absolved with not being able to admit their failures, or where they've gone wrong with things. I think I lost some of the notes for this. Yeah, definitely did. Whatever. Pick up wherever it was. So this is along the ways. Things that scare me, anything that hurts me. Oh, yes. I was talking about how these people, they have the audacity to say that I can talk to them about anything. Tell them about all my problems. Things that scare me, anything that hurts me. And it's all lies. Pure, unadulterated, manipulative lies. That much is clear. Whether they do it out of careless, histrionic, and egotistic behavior, or out of genuine fear of so-called losing me, and fear of something terrible happening to me, or out of the completely moronic traditionalist social views that they without a doubt have subconsciously or not, or if it's a massive chaotic cocktail mix of all three or the other examples I gave, none of it, absolutely none of it, is an excuse for how they have treated me and blank in regards, I guess I didn't finish that. In these regards. Though their problematic shit is more so unbelievably aimed directly at me, flat out more than them, and so often they just let them either actually walk all over them or don't pipe up one bit for them, doing almost the exact same thing I've done on occasions that they deem to be disrespectful. Yet the moment I do it, they pounce and screech like a goddamn lynx. They never admit to it. Never. And I don't know if they ever will. And also, I was going on before explaining how they pull from every avenue of gaslighting, saying, I'm overthinking something, I'm being disrespectful, I'm too young to know or naive to know. You'll never know what it's like to be this person until you're that, and whatever else. Okay, I think I also got some of these mixed up. Before... Oh yes, here it is, the lost one. This is a bit from earlier before that. Like I mentioned before, almost got me killed when I overdosed on caffeine. And when I've called them out with evidence on their problematic behavior, they gaslight me and say I'm being disrespectful, that I'm insulting their blank or them personally, despite me giving credence to the beneficial effects they've had on me and the things they've done. That I'm too young to understand, that I think I know everything, that I'm naive, that I just do it for attention, that I'm feeling sorry for myself, that I'm too negative, that I'm unrealistic, and I'm transfixed by idealism, that I have a rose-colored view of the world. The list goes on. I'm sick and tired of it, and with everything that's going on right now with my clouded perception and my morals and ideals, I don't know if they'll ever fucking change or by some measure of degree are even redeemable to me. So that was that bit. Okay, hold on a second. Find these mixed up notes because we tossed them around and I was in a fit of anger and trying to find something in an argument with these people, trying to scatter through them. Let me just be clear as well, in the last few days things have been better between these individuals and me. We've all been better off, but nothing has been fully resolved. I'll say that. Except with one, who I was completely wrong about. Not even evidence, supposed to apologize. Okay. Okay, here's this. Here, right on track. Next day, somewhat, me. Yet another thing to add to the list of the encroaching authority complex they seem to have. Just this morning, blank tried to financially blackmail me, believing that they and blank have control over my income and complete rights over certain accounts of mine. They don't. Under Canadian law, I have complete control over my money since I was 16 years old. And this isn't me being obsessed with money. It's just saying in the world it is now, even in an idealistic world of mine with a properly functioning or as close to beneficial as possible, nothing can be perfect, even society. I know that. There's no such thing as a utopian world. It can be close to it. But anyway, idealistic of libertarian communism. But anyway, threatening to freeze my funds, which again, they can't legally do, and even if they could, I'll just fucking open my own savings accounts as well and transfer all earnings from my job to it. They can't bloody well stop me from gaining access to my funds, no matter what they think in their factitious minds. Me continuing, I'm aware of my flaws, G. I overthink certain things. I stress and worry to excruciating extensive portions. I can get heavily opinionated on certain topics. I have some reaching histrionic tendencies, and specifically with blank, certain control issues, no doubt instilled in me by their behavior. I'm a perfectionist when it comes to artistic creation and projects or little activities that I'm very passionate about, or again, I was. Now all of it seems redundant, worthless, and pointless. But all of this I admit to and have tried to work on for myself and have fucking succeeded in doing so too with many things. But none of it is an excuse. It excuses what blank has done. When I've tried telling them of their flaws and telling them about issues they're causing, they do exactly what I said previously. I've had enough. Last night, I went on a walk and lied to them that I was... Okay, this is sliding around. I went on a walk and lied to them that I was going... And I don't typically do this, so no... Again, there's those tendencies going to trying not to be an asshole to people, but I don't typically do this, but at this moment I didn't care, so I went ahead with this. I was being self-centered. Where was I? I went on a walk and lied to them that I was going into... around where we live. I'm not going to say the district of Toronto, just for privacy reasons. In reality, I ordered a taxi ride all the way out into the countryside to the village of Campbellville, outside of the small city of Milton, Ontario. Look on Google Maps and you'll see what I mean. A long stretch of miles away from Toronto to where my original childhood house was, in the middle of nowhere, in the dead of night. The cab driver, which, by the way, this is where this is coming in. This was the footage you were seeing earlier. It's just what I'm saying right now was the footage that I had taken to where my original house was. Dead of night. The cab driver was a very nice guy, though be it more than a little, and I know this may sound harsh, stupid, to not even question the situation. Not even question the situation, as admittedly it was all quite suspicious on my part, which I do apologize to him for, and he waited on the desolate road as I took some pictures. They turned out shit, and just walked around the area for a brief moment to have some reminiscence of joyful memories and see where they happened with my own eyes once again, and mainly because of my blurred memory issues, to have some recall back. See where they happened once again. Then we headed back. I took a video along the way of the darkness outside the window and the city lights going by. I don't know really for what reason. It was just comforting. Then I asked the cab driver if he minded taking a detour through downtown Toronto. He agreed. On the highway, we nearly got into a car accident, and that's what some of the jolting, I think, was. If you could see in the video somewhere, it was a slight jolt, not near towards the end, but somewhere in there. They got into a car accident. Someone slowed down their vehicle on the freeway to almost a grinding halt, and though I was in another state of suicidal ideation, for some reason, when the driver slammed on the brakes, I put my hand out in front of the handcrafted plexiglass to catch myself, and I don't fully know why. Maybe it was just reactionary adrenaline and cortisol rushing to the hippocampal amygdalo-pituitary axis of my brain, triggering the fight or flight response out of instinct. Or maybe there's a part of me that still sees a point to going through with this meaningless and destructive life. I don't know. But now I know one thing for certain. Though blank questioned me on what exactly I spent $400 on the last night, yes, it was stupid of me to do, for in that regard, for that instance. I made up some bullshit lie that they seem to have initially believed. I'm out of breath. I was just as irritated as usual with what they would have been if I had actually done what I said. So if I had actually done what I said. God, this keeps sliding. So if I was to obtain a visa from consulate, they most likely wouldn't know. As for a plane ticket to blank, they could see how much I spent on it, but I'll just make up another excuse, deal with the ensuing argument and infuriation, meander around to the day of departure, then just go. They most likely wouldn't know and wouldn't probably truly care. And right now, I don't personally care whether they give a shit or not. This is going on to another day. G didn't respond until later on. Me just overheard blank talking and laughing outside my bedroom. From what I've witnessed, they haven't laughed together in a long time, and honestly, I think it's the first time I've heard blank genuinely seem amused, possibly years. That was a computer beside me, that noise. And possibly years. Something about blank, their voice, the way they projected it, their giggling, was almost like a young, innocent, joyful child having fun. Most often, when blank laughs, it's either just quick and fleeting, or it's to belittling dismiss a serious topic or conversation, or something that someone cares deeply about and is worried or passionate for. And it's fucking instilled psychological trauma in me over all these years. I know it has. You know how I know? Because last night I stood in the washroom, looked at myself in the mirror, and pretended to be them in terms of what they're like during an intensive conversation, and I mimicked the dismissive, snarky laugh they do and the way they do it. And I internally got a flicker of an anxious sensation run through my nervous system just from myself copying them. And I tried the same thing with the emotionally manipulative bullcrap both them and blank pull continuously, such as gaslighting, demeaning and baseless guilt-tripping, egotistically putting themselves at the center of almost every major conflict, telling me that if I ever have a problem or want to talk to them about something, to do so, and then once again swinging it to centralize their sense of self, specifically with blank, sincerely, baselessly shaming me for my values and moralistic stances. And I had that slight irking feeling of anxiety all through it, purely from me acting it out. And yet, after everything they've put me through, and them completely shunning my views on the world, humanity, society, issues both within and outside of our blank unit that I've concluded to be detrimental, they still have the motherfucking audacity to say to me that I can talk to them about anything. And I've lost anything at all. Okay, continuing on. G, they responded. So is that good or no? Me, are you serious? G, you said they were genuinely laughing. Is that good or no? The rest is bad, but I got mixed messages. Me. It's good, at least in my opinion, that blank and blank seem to have shared a genuine moment of happiness and humor together. Some emotional pleasure within their shambled blank and blank. Almost pathetic example of blank over the last few years. The rest is without question awful. In the past 3 years of our lives, blank would sometimes tell me that blank used to be different. They used to be more humorous, excitable, compassionate, and affectionate. But it seems that they feel like right around the time we were going to leave Canada for Fargo, America, which is where I have lived in both, I'll say right now, in the United States and Canada. In the city of Fargo, yes, we can all hear about the jokes of the, in my opinion, fantastic film Fargo by the Coen brothers, whatever, for America, or maybe around the time blank's employers terminated their position at the company blank worked for in Fargo only 8 months after we moved there. Something slowly started to change in them in terms of their personality and behavior, becoming more lethargic, apathetic, reserved, dismissive, and cold towards blank, especially after they gained excruciatingly debilitating chronic illness, which someone else in my immediate circle also has chronic illness, just to point that out. Now, I could be wrong about exactly what they started, when they started feeling that they'd changed, because from my perspective, they've primarily always been reserved, lethargic, very much dismissive, and very much arrogant, but they know them longer than me, obviously, and I can attest to the fact that these traits have worsened at the very least at points within the last 4 years or so. Me. As these last few days have been passing G at points, blank is looking more and more likely for me. Last night, for about an hour, I was the most joyful and least depressive I've been in a long time. And then it all fell to ashes and destruction once a fucking again. All gone, all ruined and broken my hopefulness for the billionth time. I now see 4 possible options to get myself to blank. 1, apply for a visa, wait to see if it's approved by blank foreign consulate ministry. If it is, then purchase a plane ticket to blank, pack what little things I'll need, seeing as I'll be dying there, go and live out my previously stated plan to the best of my abilities. 2, trek to the eastern side of Canada, steal a boat. And this was me again in a rational state of thought. I don't condone stealing. One, unless you're desperate, or if you're I don't condone stealing if you're detrimenting someone else in the consequences of it. But anyway, stealing a boat of some minimalist maintenance, some food, water, gasoline, in an attempt to sail across the Atlantic to Western Europe or Africa, trek further through every country en route to blank, or not blank, en route to Asia, reach the Middle East, then find entry point through to blank's borders, illegally sneak across the national territorial lines and make my way through the countryside through blank till I reach blank. 3, trek to the eastern side of Canada, scout around the docking piers, most likely in Halifax or Dartmouth, for employers of international export and /import cargo. service ships that are headed for either Western Europe or Western Africa, or straight through the Mediterranean Sea to Western Asia. Try applying for a job as a crew member for either the lowest form of payment or, if need be, free labor, basically. Sail with them on the cargo liner, then carry out the rest of option 2. 4. Buy a plane ticket to the closest geographically placed country in Central or Western Asia, or if need be, Northern Asia or Eastern Europe or Northern Africa to blank. That doesn't require a visa for Canadian or American citizens, which I'm dual national and dual citizen, but pack what I need for the journey, get on the flight, then carry out the rest of option 2. I know to anyone else but you, this entire operation would most likely seem absolutely ludicrous. Hell, maybe you think it's totally crazy too. Maybe many would say that I've gone clinically insane. Whatever you want to call it, you and certain others in my life know I'm wholeheartedly willing and crazy enough to attempt to. People know my skills at navigation. It's not a huge brag, that's just what I'm saying of what I've been able to discern from my abilities. I'm no master at it, but I'm able to get from one fucking end of the GTA, Greater Toronto Area, either by walking, biking, or some other form of transportation, just from looking at Google Maps or familiarizing myself with landscape, or talking to locals in areas, or just roaming aimlessly, even despite my neurological problems. It's worked out well enough in the past, so why shouldn't it this time? And like I said, if I died trying, then I died trying to reach the breathtaking, beautiful cityscape, that amazingly weird, nonsensical, and vibrant blank country. I'm gonna have to stop this again at some point. You're almost fucking through this. It's at least the most I typed out. This conversation has somewhat continued recently. I've had yet to respond to them about certain things. G deleted a message that they sent and then resent it, and then I saw the message and then they deleted it, and I said, care to elaborate on that statement, Mr. I have so much to live for? G, pussy. You are a pussy. You give up on life when the going gets tough. You reach out for help, but you don't want to accept it. Okay, I'm running out of friggin' images in my camera roll that don't reveal much about privacy issues, and also just getting late, and I guess I gotta get some sleep. It's 4 in the morning. So some of these are, 2 of these are repeated from the cursed images video, and one is just another ugly ass fucking photo of my childhood. An ugly photo of me, so. Me getting a head cap put in for, or wearing a headgear for braces, but anyway. Where was I? Getting a stomachache now. If you do this, if you do this, I will never forgive you. Me. Oh, great. One other amazing classical guilt trip line. Yet another vulgar phrase I've heard uttered by blank when talking about suicide in the past. I will never forgive you. People never fucking learn or understand. My God. How incredible. The ineptitude of people to not realize that saying shit like that makes people who already want to snuff themselves out of this world even more suicidal. Brilliant. Right now, I don't give 2 flying fucks whether you'd forgive me or not. If you so choose to feel that way about a situation like this, fine. That's you. That's your prerogative, Mr. Blank. You have all the free thought and will to not forgive me and never want to hear another mention of my name again. I certainly know blank most likely that blank most likely will never forgive me. Blank will never forgive me. So fine, let them. Right now, with this unbearably tormenting sensation of my morals and ideals floating above me and feeling like I can't analyze anything correctly and competently anymore, coupled with the fact that my memories are constantly disjointed, in a state of blurriness and fragmented almost 24/7, not to mention this continuous feeling of hazy disassociation, I don't fucking care. Things never seem to turn around any of it. My symptoms, my idiotic blank, the state of humankind, the state of the world, people just trying to live peacefully amongst one another, none of it. I've been telling this to you because you're someone I knew I could possibly have some sort of someone who could possibly have some sort of understanding of without damning these issues. Same with my 2 other friends I told, as well as out of some form of solace. Something. I don't know why I'm so self-aware of this mass depression and yet still can't bring myself to see the meaning that I once gave to life before. Even with the long struggle of it. Maybe I'm just fucking done. Maybe my mind, my psychological state, has had enough. Gee. I wash my hands of this. I'm done trying to help. Evidently you don't want it. You just want someone to feel sorry for you. Do you have any idea of how difficult this past week has been for me? No, because you don't care. You think fuck the world, boo-hoo, poor me. You told me this, have consistently shot down my attempts at trying to help. What the fuck do you want? To torture me? Because it's damn well working, Cameron. Cameron is my full name. I prefer Cam, but... Me. Incredible. How hypocritical people can be. And funny enough, ironic enough coming from me in this instance, I guess, for many things. Certain things. I still stand by certain things I said in this. You just pulled from the exact same thing my blank have pulled time and time again under the thought it helps, as if in some form of pseudo-reverse psychology method. Blank. Hey, I may be an not blank. Gee. Hey, I may be an asshole, but at least I still give a damn about those close to me and actually think about how what I'll do would affect them. You're only thinking about yourself right now. I'm telling you my honest thoughts. This has been nothing but hell for me. My oldest friend has been telling me his plan to die. And I can't do shit about it. All I can do is watch. And I'm done with it. You evidently don't want help, so I'm not going to waste my breath anymore. Me. I've thought selflessly for years. I've cared about other people's well-being and safety and health and freedom and desires to live fulfilling and equal and equitable lives in not just my social circle, in my community, in my city, in my country, in society scattered all across this fucking planet. This is sliding off again and overheating. If you'll recall that before this whole conversation even began, I told you verbatim, never mind, no, I want you to sleep with relative ease, because I second-guessed what I was going to tell you, and in that moment didn't want to give you extensive worry. But you pressed me to tell, so I ultimately decided to share my thoughts and be wrenchingly honest with the hell that I've been experiencing. So as you were sending me messages to please tell you, I heavily thought about dropping the whole thing. and just leaving you out of this bullshit. Not telling you any of it, but I guess it's just like you said. It is in our nature to be selfish, demanding, greedy, horrible creatures, right? Every time I try to analyze the arguments for purpose and meaningfulness in life, other problems or ideas come along to unravel them. And I can't bring myself to simply play along with these contradictions or my lack of discernment to morality and ideological dilemmas. I feel like I don't know anything anymore, or anything that I had known, what little was. G. You telling me you want me to sleep with relative ease causes worry. What did you think a man with OCD would do? Should have mentioned that they have or suffer from OCD. Me. Despite my research of psychology, I am ignorant to how exactly OCD affects sleep, which I still am. I haven't gotten time to look into that, for that mental disorder. Behavioral disorder. For what it's worth, if worth anything, my apologies. But as for the hell that I've clearly put you through these past few days, to combat it for your sake, I won't be telling you about it anymore until either it's resolved or if worse seemingly comes to worse. You tell me this has put you through hell. How the fuck do you think I feel about the entirety of this shit? I feel like I needed to tell you this, or just someone who would listen to this or care about it, or I was going to explode externally in emotions, or just continue all this out in secret. And yet you have the nerve to accuse me of being weak. You don't understand the extent of the hardship. No. You don't understand the extent of the hardship I've faced. You don't understand that half of it. That much seems to be evident. Not just now, but for the past 8 years of our friendship, both in person and long distance. So there. My selfless act to you, with what care I still have, I won't tell you any more about this. G. If you genuinely want help, I'm here for you all the way, man. But if you don't, then I'm not going to waste my breath. Me. I guess we'll see what comes. And that was where the pamphlet that I had pretty well printed out for these other people in my life to read ended. And then it continued in days after the conversation, talking after an extensive fight with these people and me being wrong about one of them. And I said, I think I've had an epiphany. I don't regret yet anything that I've said, for the most part, of to certain people in my life. I don't regret it. I still think it's encroaching, damaging behavior and causing mass problems. But one of them, they showed more of their real true colors to me. Their philosophical takes on life and how they deal and cope with issues around them environmentally and the world and society at large. And I basically told them that night, where have you been all my life? And we got into a lot of emotional talking. And I said I have completely changed my opinion on this person. I was wrong. I was incredibly wrong about this person and their not so much some of their behavior, because they still engage in it, which they've been working on, they've said. But I was wrong about their true feelings, their true philosophical beliefs. Not so much, I guess, in terms of psychological state, but their beliefs, how it coincides, I guess, with their behavior. At least I won't go into more detail than that right now, but I was wrong about them. Incredibly wrong. And in all this, and I've showed this stuff to some other people in my life as well, and friends, and they've helped me through this. One of them being another YouTuber. Two of them actually, never mind, being YouTubers who I won't mention names of right now for privacy reasons again. But maybe we'll talk more about that in the future. I don't know if I say who they are. I don't know. I basically said, and even in this moment now, I still feel this. I can't promise that I won't try and run off to this foreign country for the suicidal ideation bit. Even in right now, I still can't promise that. But my friend G said, just the last thing before all this stopped, until our recent altercations, I guess, they just said, I'm here for you if you need me, if you genuinely want it. And right now that seems fair. In many instances, it seems I have been a careless asshole to him. Others, I genuinely did need to reach out, but I still can't promise that I won't attempt to. And I bring all this up because I have now been prescribed antidepressants for, well, clinical depression to help with the depressive thoughts mentally, and to potentially have some sort of a rebound or remission effect for these most likely psychosomatic physical symptoms, and possibly the somatoform dissociation, if that's what this type of dissociation is. Possibly have a rebound with that. That's the goal right now. And I had so much more planned to do with this channel that I still plan on doing whenever I get back on my feet with it. Everything I had promised in the past, the walk across Yonge Street, which I've now wanted to enlarge into doing this whole fucking charity walk up into Sudbury, going extensively beyond that. There's one, I want to document the scenery and also raise awareness and donate for those causes with what little I have for it, and encourage others to do the same, as well as working more on video game writing, trying to get into pornographic filmmaking and being cam model of some kind for that, for reasons that I will state in the future as well, for sexual entertainment of others, and obviously just for myself for enjoying the job, but to portray human sexual intimacy in ways more in softcore relation. But anyway, and as well as now I've also wanted to be a stock photographer as well, for people to freely use stock images. For most of mine, I wouldn't charge. Like, there are others that are stock images sites where you have to sign up with a membership and then you get free passes to them, or others you can find free on the internet, but they're most often overused, so I don't think there's a lot more plethora of stock image photographers out there that can get a lot of their stuff put out without stock really having to go to some sort of membership site, I guess. I could be entirely wrong about most of that, but, or well, not most, certain aspects of that, but I wanted to record this now, basically, long story short, because I'm going on antidepressants, and I wanted to record this before doing that. So I'm going to do that tonight because I have a prescription filled for them. I have them, small capsules of the medication. I always get the name wrong right now. Sertraline is the one going on. It's a low grade one. It enhances, or is supposed to work with serotonin reactors in the brain, or serotonin receptors, and it goes by the brand name most commonly known in the world as Zoloft, but we'll see what comes. I have another story I guess I could tell, but I don't have time now. This is going way too long, about a semi-homeless or impoverished guitar player who I met a while ago, who I've now gotten to know better as an acquaintance, and is now what is one of my favorite guitarists I've ever heard play, and they deserve so much more than they have. And I talked with them for a long while, got to know them, and I came back to give them financial compensation for the free-ass concert they gave me one night, and nobody cares. That's another story. I don't have time for it, but they go by the labels of SF, or, well, I'm using the abbreviations in their name, but bottom line is, before I run out of time on this video, I'll talk quick. I was trying to just, I guess, talk about what had been happening. I don't know when I'll be back to making other videos like skits. I might just make random interval videos here and there of edits with photography, like I've been doing before with the Everywhere at the End of Time one and the Cursed Images one. I don't know when skits will continue. I don't know. I've been taking a break from stuff. And I also just wanted to say this to maybe raise awareness for people suffering some kind of, going through a similar thing that I may be in. I don't know. Okay, this has been therapeutic, somewhat, and I wanted to get this out and just try and get it off my mind and explain some shit before I go on that, because I do have worries about side effects, possible behavioral changes and issues. I know this was a lot. I'm sorry if I came off as completely egotistical and rude in this. Didn't mean to, but until next time,